Stay tuned and let's take a look at the whole Marvel Legends House of X wave. Pow and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And remember, you can hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Quite simply show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today, I am finally reviewing the Marvel Legends House of X, Powers of X, Sentinel, Build-A-Figure wave, as the girls seem to take the long way around to the UK, as this wave sort of trickled out over here. It took a while so we could get all of the figures on the table. So I'm playing Marvel Legends catch up as I usually do, and I'm going to take a look at all the figures in this one review. That includes Wolverine, Cyclops, Marvel Girl Jean Grey, Professor X, Magneto, Moira MacTaggert, and the Omega Sentinel. I will probably do the Build-A-Figure in a separate video just so this one isn't as long, and that is a character I need to do a little bit of research on, because it is no secret I have not yet read the House of X, Powers of X run. Very much interested in doing so. There's mixed reviews. Some people love it, some people think it's the best modern X-Men story in a long time, and other people think it's very dialogue heavy, but I would like to read it myself and make my own opinion, if you will. But I am happy to have the figures, of course, and what's great about this wave for me is it's full of heavy hitters. As I said, Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Professor X, Magneto, all in one hit. No waiting. Like, if you are just getting into Marvel Legends and you want some X-Men on the shelf, then this wave you can get some of the A-listers on the shelf straight away. So I appreciate what they're doing. Really liking this packaging as well they've got going on with all the writing and whatnot, the language, the Tricoran language. As I said, I need to do my research. But even so, we're going to take a look at all these individually as we usually do. And as I said, I'll save the Build-A-Figure for a separate video. So in no particular order, let's get into it and let's take a look at our first legend. So let's first off take a look at the figure without the Build-A-Figure piece. It is, of course, Wolverine. Now, the box does look a little bit spacious. We do get an interchangeable head, which is a nice touch. I always appreciate the options. We get a very happy Logan, which I've never really seen before, and then a bearded Logan, which again, different to what we've seen. And this seems to look like an updated version of the classic brown and yellow suit as well. I'm assuming that says Wolverine in Krakoan. We spin it around on the back. Of course, we get a list of all the figures in the wave, but we're looking at every figure in today's video. But we do have a write-up that reads, with adamantium claws unleashed, Logan is prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice in the fight for freedom for all mutants. So yeah, beautiful. We all know who this guy is. Let's get him open. So here we have Logan out of the box with everything he comes included with, which, as I mentioned, is just the interchangeable head. But this is undoubtedly Logan. And as I mentioned before, it does seem like a modernized version of the browns and yellows that a lot of people prefer Wolverine to be in. I myself prefer the blacks and the blues because obviously I grew up in the 90s with that bloody animated show. But I do appreciate a callback when I see it. And this is, of course, a callback to the classic looks of Wolverine. So as I said, no complaints from me. Very simple Wolverine figure, tried and true on that all X-Force body. Very good Wolverine mold, so no complaints in regards to that. The paint seems okay as well, as I'll take a quick look. So let's zoom in, check out these heads, and we will have a quick glance at the body. Look how happy this guy is. Now, I must admit, it's a little bit unnerving because I'm not used to seeing Wolverine this happy. It makes me think, what is this guy up to? It's like a sadistic smile. He's about to go in battle and he's happy about it. But it's a nice head sculpt all the same. Big smiley face with the cowl. The eyes are whited underneath the mask, and the cowl blends nicely into the rest of the body. But yeah, it looks good. Clean lines, no complaints from me. It's a very nice mold, a very happy Wolverine. But as I said, it's a little bit unnerving, so let's swap that out. And that's more like it. That is the Wolverine I'm used to seeing. Grumpy, stern, not happy. So yeah, I'll keep this head on there. I do notice though he has a little bit of a beard, a grey beard as well. So we've got a bit of an aged Wolverine on the go. So no complaints there. As I said, I do appreciate the options for the shelf. But yeah, the cowl is very nice as well. A little bit pointy. Is it the same? I think it's a little bit more pointy than the other head, or maybe that's just my imagination. I don't know, but still, it's a nice head. Looks good. My lines are a little bit sloppy on the side there. He's got a little bit of a chip above the mouth. So, again, just being super picky. Overall, very nice head. So let me zoom out and just take a look at the rest of this body. So it is, of course, the Wolverine sort of X-Force body. I'll do a full comparison in a minute, but it's the same one, just repainted essentially. So we know what we're getting ourselves in for with articulation and what. Very nice range of option. This is a great mold for Wolverine. Lots of dynamic posing, no complaints from me. The bout's a nice touch as well. I had to wiggle mine a little bit to get it straight, but it works, no problems at all. And then, yeah, overall just a nice cleanly painted Wolverine, all brown on the back with a hint of yellow. Move around, and then again, looks good. I thought there was a boot swivel on this body. It looks like there is, but no, it's an illusion. No boot swivel, but other than that, all the range you'd need. Decent ankle pivot, lots of range at the feet. That butterfly joint is so deep, you can get him in some great poses with the claws. So yeah, no complaints from me. This is a great Wolverine body, and as I said, it's a sort of homage to the classic sort of brown and yellow Wolverine body that everyone loves so much. So let me see what I've got in that department. I don't think I've got the Juggernaut version of Wolverine anymore, so instead here is the Wave 1 vintage Wave version of Wolverine that I haven't even took out of the packaging. And you can see how it's the same brown and yellow sort of design, but this one's been sort of upgraded a little bit, as now he's got the sort of gauntlets sculpted onto the wrists, and then the boots are a little bit sort of modernized as well compared to the classic sort of cowl matching boots. But either way, you can see how it's a clear upgrade evolution of Wolverine. So no complaints from me, looks good. But I have got many other Wolverines on the shelf we can do a comparison with. So without pulling out the Old Man Logans and the Weapon X, here we have a nice little lineup of Wolverine in his uniform, of course. And as I said, this brown version is definitely just a straight up repaint of the X-Force version with some different heads, because that is where the updated sort of boots and gauntlets come from. But yeah, it looks good. And I first thought as well that this guy had the same claws as the X-Force version, because they are quite nice and straight, but now I get these ones out as well and put them side by side. So there you go, that's probably a better comparison, both of them side by side. So yeah, definitely different anyway. I thought they were the same. My camera's not focusing, but they're definitely different. But these are much nicer to anything that we've got in the past, of these Wolverines in the past. These are thin and they fall out of place. These ones seem like a new version of the claws, which I'm not complaining about at all. So yeah, new claws. And we don't have any down cowls, unfortunately, but this unmasked head of Wolverine does pop straight onto the body. No issues at all. And I don't think that looks bad either if you wanted to have an unmasked Logan. Next up, let's take a look at Cyclops, aka Scott Summers, but I'm assuming the Krakoan on the front there says Cyclops. His box does look a little bit more filled out compared to Wolverine, as now we're getting the Build-A-Figure pieces for the Sentinel, but Cyclops does come with an interchangeable head and blast effects. And again, updated uniform, but still undoubtedly Cyclops. Spin around on the back, we get a list of all the figures that we're looking at in today's video, and of course we get a write-up for Cyclops that reads: Cyclops assembles a team of mutants to destroy the Mother Mold and vanquish the Sentinel threat. So yep, looking good. Let's get them open. Here we have Cyclops out of the box, and first impressions, it's clearly Cyclops. What can I say? He does come with a Build-A-Figure piece for the Sentinel, so you know what, we're doing a separate video for that, so come back to the channel, we'll look at that. And then Cyclops himself comes with an interchangeable head and blast effect, and the way this works is that you plug that into the interchangeable head, and then you can put that on there and have a blasting Cyclops. But we'll look at all of that when we zoom in. Starting off at the head sculpt, very simple, but works for Scott. Very stern and sort of emotionless in a way. The visor, though, of course, is the main aspect of Cyclops, and it works up top. Moving down to the body, I've got a little bit of chip there in my line work, but overall there is a lot of line work on the body, and it does seem pretty clean for the most part. If I zoom back in, we can look at the bout, and the bout does have sculpted patches, and the buttons are painted on the pouches, which is a nice touch. Sometimes they wouldn't do that. And then we got the greys and the red on the X logo. We get these new gauntlet pieces as well for the wrist. And then we get two hands. We sort of get his Jean Grey pleasing hand, you know what I'm talking about, and then we get a fisted hand on that side. So no interchangeable hands again with this figure. Moving down, more lines on the front and then lines on the back. They could have skimped out, but no, we got the lines on the back, and then no sculpted boots, just the tried and true book and cat body. But again, if it works, it works. But yeah, let's try that over head sculpt. And that's how the interchangeable head works, with the sort of blast effects coming out of the face, and the facial expression is a lot more angry now, as you see. This looks good, don't get me wrong, very dynamic, great for ACBA. I like when you can have a bit more dynamic posing on the shelf. You get his hand up and you can get that iconic sort of pose as well for Cyclops. I don't think he does it in the comics anymore, to be fair, but it's definitely your mind's eye versions of this sort of optic blast. But yeah, looks good. Again, sort of like clear candy red sort of plastic with a little bit of sculpted detail on there, and it's flat on the outer side. But yeah, it looks good. It does what it's meant to do, essentially, so you can't be mad at it. But if you don't want that, you will unfortunately just have a big gap in the middle of the face. Now, it would have been great if they included a tiny little piece you could just slot in here so that if you didn't want the big blast effect, you could still use Cyclops with the grinning, sort of, not grinning, but the sort of angrier face, because that would have been a nice option, because this is a decent head sculpt, just you can't really use it without the blast effect, if that makes sense. I'm not going to go over articulation, as you know what you're going to get with the Bookie Cat Moddy, but here we have Cyclops compared to my mind's eye and favourite version of Cyclops. It is, of course, the Jim Lee version with the yellow and the blues, but still, as you can tell, it's still the same character clearly to any X-Men fan. It's just this is the sort of more modernised design, which is a nice touch, and we have got more Cyclopses. And if there's one thing Ghostbusters taught me, it is, of course, you don't cross the streams. Anything could happen. Whoa, whoa. But still, here we have Cyclops compared to the previous Cyclops that had this same gimmick. It is the X Factor Cyclops that came in the retro packaging. So that's exactly the same gimmick with your Cyclops just now on this modern Powers of X, House of X figure. Next up, we have Jean Grey, who has clearly went back in time as she found this old Marvel Girl uniform in the back of her wardrobe, and I'm assuming the Krakoan on the front of this box as well says Marvel Girl and not Jean Grey. But here we have her. She does come with some interchangeable hands, a Build-A-Figure piece, and then a nice little accessory of that flower, which we'll look at in a minute. On the back of the box, we get a list of all the figures we're looking at today, and as well as a write-up that reads, Marvel Girl leads her fellow mutants to the island sanctuary of Krakoa in a bid to declare sovereignty from humankind. So yeah, looking good. This is a design I've wanted on the shelf for a long time, and now we have it in this sort of updated modern world. But let's take a look. Here we have Marvel Girl out of the box with everything you see. Of course, she comes with a Build-A-Figure piece that we're going to look at in a separate video. Put that to one side. She comes with a Krakoan flower pod, I believe, and then some interchangeable hand that we see with a lot of our Marvel Legends females. But yeah, I'm really curious with the articulation on this, because the figure looks great just looking at it, but it's not going to move a lot. Firstly, the positives. I do like the way it looks. It's the classic sort of Marvel Girl uniform that we haven't had in Marvel Legends form for a long time. So you could fit this in different places in your display if you didn't want it in the House of X sort of universe, because it is a classic throwback. Apparently, comic characters now can just go back in time in their wardrobe, I assume. But yeah, it looks good. However, the articulation is limited. So there's no ab crunch, but there is a sort of ball joint on the waist. So you can see that wiggle there, and you get a little bit of back and forth, but not much more than that, unfortunately. And the skirt is quite a solid piece. There's a cut there, but even that's quite stiff. It won't come out. So yeah, she can shake her legs, but she can't really articulate forward or back at all. So yeah, very much traffic cone Jean Grey. I've seen some people literally cut this off and do a cloth sort of custom version so they could have her in a bit more dynamic poses. But unfortunately, like this, she's just going to have to stand on the shelf. Unless you heat this up, bend it, I don't know. But I don't hate it. It does look like a dress rather than two separate pieces, to be fair. So bravo on that. She's got the X on the belt, of course. And then, as I said, there is the ball joint sort of hidden at the top of the waist. But yeah, the boots are another talking point about this figure, because if you look, you can actually see the sculpt line of the sort of shoes from, I think, Peggy Carter, and I think Moira has the same issue, but instead of different shoes, they've just painted them yellow, so you can see the sculpt work. And again, she does seem a little bit short, but she is on the female sort of teenager body. So yeah, I know that's an issue for some people. It doesn't bother me too much, but I know it's definitely a talking point of this figure. But yeah, overall, it does look good for what it's meant to be. Just I think people are going to be frustrated with the sort of lack of articulation on this. But I'm happy to have her standing on the shelf representing Marvel Girl. So she does come with two-fisted hands against these gloves again. And again, just the colours are really nice. They're pop. The yellows, the greens, the little hint of red, the bright, fiery orange hair. The lips have got a little bit of pink. So like no complaints from me in how it looks and the sort of applications of the figure. I just think the way it functions will be frustrating. But as I said, back to the hands. She's got two interchangeable hands, which are a set of fisted hands and a set of classic female Marvel Legends power hands, like voodoo hands. You get them with all female Marvel Legends, it's absolutely fine, doesn't bother me too much. But you can use these to hold her other accessory, which maybe I'll pull that in now, which is of course this little Krakoan flower found on the island of Krakoa, of course. So yeah, I haven't read the story. I need to do my research, but again, it's very story specific, so definitely fits the theme of this wave, and it's a nice little touch from Hasbro. But yeah, looks good. Here we have Jean Grey compared to Marvel Girl, of course, and as I said, this Jim Lee version of Jean Grey is taller than the Marvel Girl version. It isn't massively different. To me, I can forgive it, but I can understand people's frustrations. I will do some more comparisons as we move on, but she is a lot shorter than Scott, and that isn't really how it is in the comics. Jean's a pretty tall lady. So yeah, she does seem a little bit short, but she is on the smaller sort of female teenager body for Marvel Legends. So yeah, I think people are going to be disappointed with the height of Jean Grey on this one, but still, looks good. Next up, we have Charles Xavier. Yes, this is Professor X. Out of all of the modernised outfits for the X-Men, this is the one that's probably furthest away to my mind's eye version of Charles, that old man in the wheelchair. Now Charles can apparently walk, and he has Cerebro helmet attached to his head. So definitely an interesting figure. As simple as it is, definitely has some sort of curious appeal to it. We do get an interchangeable head as well, which I'm sure we can use on our previous Charleses as well. We get a Build-A-Figure piece for the Tri-Sentinel, and then some interesting hand choices. Spin it around onto the back, we get a list of all the figures we're looking at today, as well as a write-up for Charles Xavier that reads: Xavier reveals his master plan, one that will bring mutants out of humankind's shadow and once again into the light. So as I said, out of all of these uniforms, this is definitely the one that's most different and makes me most intrigued to read the source material. But let's look at the figure. So here we have Charles out of the box with all of his accessories. Again, a Build-A-Figure piece that we will look at in a separate video. Move that to the side. He, in fact, comes with 2 interchangeable hands and an interchangeable head, which, as I said, will have its uses in my collection for sure. But as I said, what is going on with Charles? He seems younger. He's really muscly and slim. Like, has he gone back in time? Like, has he hit the gym? What's going on? Let's zoom in and take a look at the few details. Now, when I say few details, I mean a few details, because it's just an all black, slim Marvel Legends body. Absolutely no detail on there at all. Lots of articulation on this particular body mold. Very slim if you're happy with that. But yeah, the only detail is his head. Now, this helmet isn't a helmet that comes off. It is molded into the figure, which is absolutely fine. I prefer it if it looked better that way. But yeah, we get the big blue X on the front. And again, I believe this is Cerebro. I could be wrong, but I'm assuming it is. Some nice sort of sculpted work at the back here. And I can't really tell if there's any paint detail on there. It just sort of looks gunmetal grey. I like these sort of pipes that sort of stick out, and they seem firm enough. They're not going to rip off unless you literally pull them off. But yeah, spin it around again. And again, bland face, no detail on the face, but it's all about the helmet up top. So yeah, when I literally zoom back out, and it was the most easiest review ever, it's like a slim Professor X with Cerebro helmet. And again, this body has lots of articulation, so you're going to have to get this Charles in some very dynamic poses that you're not used to seeing Charles Xavier in for some reason, but still, it's all about the helmet with this figure. So let me take out the helmet and see what else we got. The second interchangeable head is a lot more recognisable for Charles Xavier, but he seems to be asleep. It looks good though, and it has this effect piece on the back, which you can't really see because of my white background, but it sort of demonstrates his telepathic abilities a lot better than the splashy splash effect that we got with the hover chair. But I'm definitely going to use this on my older Charles Xavier and keep the Cerebro helmet on this head, because obviously this doesn't really work, does it? Let's be honest. I do think this head is for the previous version of Charles. So I've just pulled this guy out the hover chair, pretend he's sitting in it, and yeah, the skin tones are not perfect, but you can definitely fudge it, and it does work. So if you wanted to use this head on this Charles, you definitely can. Skin tones don't match 100%, but as I said, you can fudge it. And if you wanted to use the hover chair head on this body, you don't have to worry about skin tones because it's an all black base body, and you spin the helmet around and you can't see the face, and now you have an unmasked Charles Xavier holding the Cerebro helmet, even though I don't know if he's young and old under that helmet because I've not read the source material. So again, educate me in the comics, but you can do that. Back to the helmet, he does come with a set of interchangeable hands. So on the figure, you get 2 generic sort of, I don't know, grabby hands, open hands, I don't know what you want to call them. But he has a better set. One for actually pointing at Cerebro like he's doing something. Again, I'm assuming that's how it works. And the other one is for picking his nose, I believe. That definitely works. I guess you can use it for pointing as well if you wanted to, but it's definitely a nose picking hand officially. Next up, let's take a look at Eric, aka Magneto, in his crispy white, which of course was inevitable after we've already got the red and purple and then the black and red. White was inevitable, and why not in this line? It is exactly how he looks in the comics in this story when he yet again joins in forces with Charles and the X-Men for the better good of mutants and all of that. So he's in his crispy white with some interchangeable hands. These three Sentinel heads, of course, are for the Build-A-Figure. I'm assuming that is Magneto and Krakoan. Spin it around, we get a list of all the figures we're looking at today, as well as a write-up that reads: Magneto forms an unlikely partnership with Xavier in pursuit of a lofty common goal, the protection of all mutants. Now, this review is going to be awkward because we're white on white background, so let's do the best we can, shall we? And here we have Magneto out of the box, and my black sheet isn't ironed, so we're going to have to make do with this white sheet. I've adjusted the settings on the camera, so hopefully you can see white Magneto and it's not just a floating silver head. But here we have Magneto with all the accessories. So these three Sentinel heads, of course, we're going to do a separate video for that, move them over there, and we shall focus on Eric Linshaw himself. So let me zoom in. So one head sculpt for Eric, and it does seem to be quite a narrow helmet. I'm surprised he can see out of that thing, but you can see the sculpted head under there and his eyes. The cape is the same sort of cape we've seen with other Magnetos. It's very big and bulky, but it definitely has the Magneto design. If I move that up, you can see it plugs into the back, but we can take the cape off just to see the rest of this figure, because the base molds of the figure isn't bad at all. You can get some decent articulation. So just taking a look, it is all white with these black lines, and the black lines are painted pretty good considering, because if it was any embellishments on there, you'd be able to tell against the white body, but they're pretty good, and they're even on the back. Considering he's wearing a cape and we probably won't even see them, it's pretty good that they're on there, and again, these are pretty good. His belt's pretty good as well, similar to Cyclops where he's got the sort of pouches, but they're not painted, and then the X logo is a little bit different, but it's definitely there. Moving down, no boots or anything, but then we get these wrist gauntlets that we've been seeing quite a lot in this wave. X-Men must like their wrist gauntlets, but overall looks pretty good, and he does have a couple of sets of hands as well. So we get a set of just standard sort of C-grip hands, a set of fisted hands, and a set of sort of open palm sort of Magneto doing some powers hands, which are probably the best set for this character. Here's our Magneto comparison. Of course, my favourite is the more iconic purple and red one over here. The head sculpts and helmets are definitely different on these two as well, and they've shared similar elements. Like these two share the same cape, this one definitely doesn't. I think they all share the same upper torso, and maybe the legs. No, his boots are different, his boots are painted. These, well, no, they're sculpted, there ain't. Yeah, there's different bits all over the place with these guys, but yeah, they're very back heavy, hard to balance. I do like the unmasked Eric Linshaw head with the white hair. Maybe that will look good on this one. And if you wanted to, yes, that head does pop on this white body, and it works out pretty well. And that one in the background also came with like purple hands and fists, and they will pop onto this body as well if you wanted to use them, which would look like the artwork on the back of the packaging. I don't have them to hand, but they work. Next up, we have one of my most anticipated for this wave for a few reasons. First, it's because it's a new character to add to the shelf, which I always appreciate. And two, it's because you can essentially get two different character designs in this one pack, and I love it when Hasbro give us options, and that's exactly what's happening with Moira. We can get two completely different looks for this one figure. As you can see, interchangeable heads, interchangeable arms, and I will show you that and why in a second. So I'm assuming this says Moira here and Krakoan at the front. We spin it round, and spoiler alert, Moira can reincarnate. She's a mutant after all, and this is all her different looks from the storyline, and you can get two of these looks in this one figure, which I really appreciate. So we get a little write-up that reads, Moira MacTaggert, through the course of many lives and deaths, Moira MacTaggert pursues justice for all mutants. Of course, we get a list of the figures we're looking at today, but let's get her open. So here we have Moira out of the box with all of her accessories, and it's clear that the accessory budget went to Moira because she comes with the most. She also comes with the Build-A-Figure leg that we're going to look at in a separate video. Move that to the side and let's concentrate on Moira. So let's zoom in and see what we've got, because as I said, you can get two completely different looks in this one figure. So first up, let's look at scientist Moira MacTaggert. If you couldn't tell, she's wearing glasses and a lab coat. She's definitely a scientist. I think my lips are a little bit, if it will focus for me, my lips are a little bit to the left. It's like they don't hit the lips mark properly. It's like Moira put her makeup on while she was drunk or hungover or something, because it's a little bit sloppy. But I do like the glasses with the translucent plastic, and you can see the eyes underneath as well. That looks good. You got her pens in her jacket there, and I do apologise, the white on white is not a good look. But underneath that, she's just wearing the same sort of skirt and top that we see Gwen Stacy wear. I think even Marvel Girl used the same sort of outfit of choice underneath. Yeah, I'm assuming they do. But what's good about this figure is that you can pop off the arms and the lab coat, and then give her alternative look from the story, because as I said, spoiler, she's a mutant after all and she reincarnates. So they've picked two options which work pretty good, but she does have some other outfits from the comic that would have looked good as well. But I like the way they made this work, so let's swap them out. Quick wardrobe change, and here we have our second Moira. So as I said, all I've done is pop out the arms, and they do pop out nice and easy. Take the jacket off, you put the neckerchief on the other head, and now we've got a separate look. So Moira is worth buying two of if you want two different looks for Moira amongst your collection. So let's zoom in and see this head a little bit, if it will focus for me. So obviously no glasses this time, but the head looks good, and you can see some like sculpted earrings underneath there as well that are just hidden by the hair. The hat is sculpted on there, the hat won't come off, but again, it works. The neckerchief is a separate piece that you've just put on when you remove the head, and then the arms of course match the rest of the body. And then she's wearing that same skirt with the slit to the side, so you can get her legs going out but not so much forward and back. So yeah, but I don't mind. Moira's not going to be in no crazy kicking poses anyway on my shelf, so I'm fine with that. But yeah, articulation is what you would expect for a female. Single jointed elbows, but they do go past 90, I guess, but only a little bit. But she's going to have the same articulation that I want for a female, so it's for her type of female at least. I never shown off her scientist book, but now she has the hands to hold it. So of course, here's a book, just a slab of plastic with this logo on. Of course, if you're reading a book with this logo on, you're a genius. That's just a unified fact that everybody knows. And she can hold it. Yes, she can hold it in that hand, no problem at all. So of course, she comes with a grabby hand, another sort of posing hand, if you will, and then these have just fists on as well. So if you want Moira to punch someone, she does have some fists that won't focus. There you go, they're focusing now. So you do have a couple of hand options as well. Yeah, two fists on there, and then two different hands on here. So yeah, two different looks for Moira. She even comes with a book. Yeah, however you want to pose your Moira, you can, I suppose. And what's good about this figure is that you are going to be able to do some mixing and matching. If you have a Gwen Stacy, shall we say, you can switch out the arms, switch out the jacket, swap the heads, however you want, because I think they're the exact same figure overall, just a few different tweaks. But I like having options and mixing it up, so definitely going to be tracking down a Moira. But you let me know in the comments below, which Moira do you prefer? Do you want to see this one on your shelf, or do you prefer the lab coat version on your shelf? Which one are you going to be posing? Let me know. And the last figure we're opening up in today's video is, of course, the Omega Sentinel. Another brand new character to add to the display, which I always appreciate. Someone to accompany my Nimrod on the shelf. But it's also another figure where some of the accessory budget must have went. Just like Moira, you can buy more than one of these and have different looks for Omega Sentinel on your shelf. You've got two different heads, interchangeable arms, and of course you need her for the massive Tri-Sentinel Build-A-Figure piece. But yeah, the box is full and I like that. Spin it around, there's all the figures that we've looked at today. There's a picture of Omega Sentinel in one of her forms, and of course we have the last bio of the video, which reads: harnessing the power of enhanced sensors, flight and nanite regeneration, the Omega Sentinel dispatches enemies with ease. So yeah, another figure I'm happy to add to the collection. Let's open her up. So finally, here we have the Tri-Sentinel out of the packaging with all of her accessories. She, of course, comes with the Build-A-Figure piece for the Tri-Sentinel as well. Come back for the separate video where I'm going to take a look and build the Build-A-Figure with you guys. Separate video, move that to the side. Today is all about the figures inside. And the last one we have is, of course, Omega Sentinel with her interchangeable arms, interchangeable head. Again, she's white, so I apologise if she fades in on my background, but we're nearly there, people. Let's zoom in and take a look. So first, let's take a look at her big red bold head, and to be fair, this is a very nice head sculpt. The face on there is very sinister. I like the black eyes and the eyebrows, very defined against the red head, and then she has that sort of white sort of effect. I was going to say paint, but it's actually sculpted onto the head as well, which is a nice touch. And then she's got this very nice design. I like the way the colours pop here, the red, the black, and then the white. It's very nicely done. Like the lines are clean, and it's all sculpted on there as well. Spin it around again. It's on the back of the figure, which is very nice against these sort of robotic arms. Move all the way down. She even has some stripes there on the bottom of the boots, which is a nice touch. So these robotic arms are pretty good. The elbows are still single jointed though, but that is for a reason. It's because they do pop off and we can swap them out. So before we do this, take a look at these real quick. So these are nicely sculpted as well on both sides, bit of red in there on this side as well. Spin it around. Again, they're robotic arms, so I don't mind them sticking out and being a little bit unproportioned against the body. Looks good. Same matches the colour of this sort of, I don't know, gears in the middle. I don't really know. She is a robot with like nanobites and whatnot. But I like the red inside of the gunmetal that sort of matches the red on the side. And it's a nice, it's like a candy red. It sort of pops very nicely on the shelf. She's definitely going to stand out, which is always something good. And yeah, I like the design. What can I say? It's a character I need to learn more about. I'm not going to lie. But just as a figure, she's going to pop. And especially if you pop out those elbows, you can give her some weaponry on these arms. So these are the elbows. Obviously, they pop out, these hands, and then you can plug in these. It's very simple to do. There's an example. It just pops out and pops in. I don't think it matters if you do left or right or left. I think it's just the same principle. You're giving her basically arm cannons, which is a nice touch. And both of these are unique. This one's got a bit of orange in there, nicely done. And then this one's just gunmetal grey, but as a different sculpt. Again, both unique. I can't get her arms out anymore because these shoulder pads sort of hinder the articulation. Oh no, it does. Okay, there we go. So it's soft enough where it will go up and over. So if I've wanted to do this, I can. Okay, so I didn't want to break it, but it does seem like it's soft enough to do that. So there we go. The shoulder pads will go over the back, and then we can get her arms more posy, if you will, and that looks good. So there's one arm. Again, the bit of orange looks good, unique. Got a bit sticking out there. There's the second one. Again, it looks good. So there's the interchangeable arms. You can have arm cannons. You can have one of each if you wanted to. Let's swap that out and pop that back in. I think that's the right one. Yep, there we go. And now she can like hold the cannon. Make sure I don't want to break it, you see, but you can see what I mean. It pops out, but that's because I'm bending it on the wrong axes. There you go, there you go, there you go. Hold it. Do you know, like I'm saying, you can get it posed up any way you want is my point I'm trying to make. So it looks good. Let's swap out the head. Now, first impressions, I want to like the head sculpt. It looks great with a big, flowy, sort of sculpted hair, ponytail, if you will. Yeah, it looks good. Like, there you go, up there. And then the sort of half-robot face with the red lips matching the red eyes. Look, I want to like it. However, thanks to super producer Rich M at Displayed Once on Instagram, I know it's very inaccurate to the source material. Like, the hair was never brown, the hair should be black. Obviously, the skin tone needs to be different. So, yeah, you're going to have to do some customizing if you want it to be accurate to the source material. Or if you're just going to use the red head, then I wouldn't worry about it. But if you do want a masterclass on how to make it more comic accurate, then go and check out Displayed Once on Instagram, and he will give you a step-to-step guide on exactly how to do that. I may have to do it myself, but overall, it's a nice head sculpt, just a little bit inaccurate, but still, bravo, nice hair, looks good. But see what I mean? No matter which version you prefer, you can get her in some nice poses just by mixing and matching the accessories. So definitely worth a multi-buy if you want to display both versions on the shelf. Because yeah, she looks great, to be fair. Looks great. Again, a white background with two white figures, it's probably not a good look for YouTube. However, this was the only comparison I really wanted to see, as if you've seen a few comic panels, you know these two go together very well, as they're both part Sentinel, of course. So yeah, that's how she's going to end up on my shelf with, of course, Nimrod. But yeah, these two look good together. They're going to look great on the shelf. And yeah, definitely the year of the Sentinel. But yeah, Omega Sentinel looks great. So to wrap up this video, here we have all 7 of the figures from this House of X wave on the table. Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, aka Marvel Girl, Professor X, Moira MacTaggert, Omega Sentinel, and then we have Magneto on the flight stand. I'm going to be doing a separate video for the Tri-Sentinel Build-A-Figure, so obviously stick around for that. But just my overall thoughts on this wave, I do think it's a solid wave. It's basically an instant display. As usually Marvel Legends waves, we get characters from all over the place, different eras, different costumes from different teams. This wave, all of these figures are from the same source material, from the same storyline in the comics. And again, it's heavy hitters. So if you're late to the Marvel Legends party or just want to jump on board with a nice little X-Men display, I don't think you can go wrong with this and the heavy hitters within it. And again, for me personally, I like adding new characters to the display, and that's exactly what we got here with Moira and Omega Sentinel. So I'll find a place for all of these without a doubt. But you let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this a wave you have brought? Which figures have you brought? What do you like? Let me know. Always curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Who's your favourite in this wave? Always curious. But you know what to do. If you've stuck around this long, then you must like Marvel Legends. And if you do, you're in the right place. So please, please, please hit that subscribe button. Much appreciated. You can also hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Much, much appreciated. Until then, though, follow me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. I'm on my way to 10K, and I will, of course, see you on the next one.